Hello and welcome to another exciting Kit Car Talk with Street Rod Jim. Hi everyone and welcome to the channel about kit cars and other car topics. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the notification buttons below and share with others on social media. So if you're not familiar with my channel, this is my Factory 5 Racing 33 Hot Rod version 2. It is a hardtop coupe, has a Moser rear end, it has a full hood, side panels, and valance, and it has LS power with a 4L60 automatic transmission in it. And I love the beautiful polished grille. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. That's a little better. So anyways, I've been working on this for about a year. And it's been a long time since I've done one of these kit car talks. I thought I'd do a lot more of them, maybe once a month or something like that. But I've just been so busy building the car or busy not building the car that, you know, it's just kind of tough to do some of these. But I figured it's been a year since I started the car, and it's been at least 6 months or so since I've actually done a kit car talk. To just kind of give you a wrap up of what's been going on, what's been done, what's coming up, how the channel's going, things like that. So that's what today's going to be all about. So first I want to give a shout out to some of my viewers that have always been commenting with feedback and positive comments. And that is Heath W, Chris K, John H. You guys are always there, you know, giving me comments. It's just been great. I also wanted to thank my neighbor Bob and his daughter for coming over and helping me every once in a while. You know, Greg, obviously, who's not only been consulting me, but actually physically showed up and did a bunch of great body work with me, which I'm totally grateful for. My buddy Seth, who's always helped me, you know, my consulting buddy, who's built one of these too, and has helped me out a lot. So I really appreciate all that help. And, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. So I really appreciate it. So I wanted to talk about the channel a little bit. You know, I started the channel with just research on doing this car, researching other kit cars, you know, what my findings were, going to build school. Then I did a LS engine build. Then I did a 2003 anniversary C5 Corvette, which really helped me kind of get an idea of how I was going to approach filming and building this 33 Hot Rod for the channel. And then of course, you know, the car itself has been the mainstay of it ever since. And it's pretty wild. I mean, I have certain videos that now have hit 190,000 views, which I'm just like, wow, dumbfounded. And I have other videos that, you know, are 600 views and slowly growing over time. So it's kind of an interesting balance. And so, you know, just so my viewers know, you know, this is not something you get rich off of. You have to really hit 100,000 subscribers to actually, you know, make any money that's worth, you know, your time at all. You know, did I make a little bit of money on that 190K video views? Sure, absolutely. Doesn't cover the cost of making that video. It just doesn't. And the, you know, the videos that only have 600 views, I might make $1.90 or something. So when you think about, you know, I'm putting 2,000-3,000 hours into building this car, and I always, you know, say on my videos that it takes about 3 times to edit and film the 1 hour that, you know, I spent, you know, working on the car. It's really true. And so the other day I was doing something on the car where I wasn't filming, and I was like, oh man, this is so much easier. Because I'm not thinking about, oh, I'm blocking the camera now. Now I have to move it. Now I have to reset it up. I have to replug it in. Instead of just working on the car, it's a lot of stuff going on. And so, you know, I wanted to do this, at least on this first car, to help the Factory 5 community. To, you know, again, put Factory 5 to the test of their own marketing slogan that, you know, a guy in his garage with a few tools could actually build this car. And For the most part, it's been pretty true. I mean, there's definitely some, problems that I've had over the time where it's like, really, this is what you sent me? But I love this company. With all the headaches and stuff that I could complain and bitch about, I know that it would just be worse with anybody else because no one else really has this turnkey full kit. Everything comes in a box, and yes, you could customize and do whatever you want with it, but this is the real deal. No one else has a racing spec frame for a 33 hot rod. This thing will dust supercars on a drag strip. With the proper engine, of course. No matter how much frustration or whatever I have nothing but love for Factory 5, and it's actually been a great experience. And I'm totally proud of, and my viewers see it. When I first started these videos, it'd be like, I'd just be scared to modify something or grind it or, is that a safety issue or, and now it's like, bam, 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 get done, grind it off, chop it off, do whatever. And, not only do you see a confidence in what I'm willing to modify, but you also see a confidence in me using the tools and just a better understanding in general of what it takes to build a car. And that's something that I'm totally proud of. And it makes me smile when people like Greg and my viewers and other people say, hey man, like I really, you've tackled a bear, man, and you're winning, And so, just hearing that feedback really helps me out, makes me want to move forward and do more of this stuff. So I appreciate that from everybody. It's just been a great experience. And I love projects and I love research. I do way too much research, but I love it, And so to have a new skill set, that always makes me feel really good. And, to go from, building all my own furniture in my house to now doing metal work and building a car, it's just another skill set to go on to. And then when I went to build the center console, it's like, oh, well, let me brush off my woodworking skills and, bust this, this center console out. And I'm glad I had those skills, So it's just been kind of an interesting journey and I really appreciate it. The other thing I want to mention on the channel is that, I do some excursions every once in a while. And I had the opportunity to fly out to Vegas and go to exotic racing. And I specifically wanted to try 3 different types of cars from 3 different companies. And we got, the German Porsche, we have the Japanese hybrid Acura NSX, we have the Italian Ferrari, I think it was a 488, which is a stunningly beautiful car. They really, that car is just amazing looking from the outside. However, it was the most, I don't want to say disappointing to drive, but it got in the way of your driving experience of all the technology. Like it wouldn't accelerate unless you stopped turning the wheel and then it would come alive again. And, there's just things like that I didn't enjoy about that car. But, there's great commentary from the instructor drivers. I left all that in so you could really get a balance because I asked them questions about, this car versus that car and stuff. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's actually, I love doing stuff like that. And what's funny about this is when I called up my buddy Greg and I'm like, hey man, I was just in Vegas and I went and I raced all these supercars. And he's like, oh, so you paid money to drive cars slower than your 33? Yeah, that's what I did. So, he's always great at pointing out some things. But, the point was not to don't get me wrong, I want to drive fast and learn how to use the track, but, be a better driver. But the point of it literally was to drive and experience technologies from 3 different countries. 3 different design philosophies. And so anyways, you might enjoy that video. So it's been a 1-year anniversary. In fact, literally to this day, it's around 14 months for me. This car was dropped off last year in the middle of the summer. And I was so excited. I just hopped in and I dug in, and I mean, it didn't matter. I was up at like 6 a.m., putting in 3-4 hours of inventory before I had to go to work. And then I'd come back at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd work till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night doing inventory. And it was just like that for a week straight, you know, middle of the heat, no air conditioning, no, no swamp cooler, no nothing. And, I figured, man, I spent the money. I better, I'm not going to let this get away from me. Because it's easy for it to get away from you. It's easy that if you're like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then the next thing you know, you got a half-assembled kit that's been sitting there for 3 years collecting dust. And this happens a lot. A lot of people sell their kits quarter built, sometimes still new in the box. They never even got to it because it just became overwhelming. And I get it. I had to really push through the beginning to really, I was excited about it, but it was kind of overwhelming. I think it was 34, 36 boxes of inventory. It's just a lot of stuff. And so, I pushed through and I kept going and kept going. And no matter what was in front of me, I would switch to something else and just move forward in that and switch back to that and move forward in that. However, I'm in this situation now where as the further you get into the build, the more things are depending on other things, and then you kind of get yourself trapped, or you can't really move forward until something else is done. And luckily, I've planned as much as possible to get around those things. But a perfect example is just the other week. You saw in my videos where, all right, it's time to pull out the engine. I'm going to pull the firewall. I'm going to paint it. And then also my buddy Greg calls and says, hey, I'm available. I'm coming over tomorrow. And I'm like, I got to get the firewall back into the car. And so I'm not finished with it, And so you kind of jumping around doing different things. But all in all, at the end of the day, it's all been great. And I'm not far away from getting this thing finished. Definitely have a little bit more raw body work. Got to get those side panels in. I have to start doing all the raw sanding on all the seam lines, things like that. And then after that's all done, start putting electronics in the car, get the engine back in the car, wire up the engine, get the PCM going, get the drive shaft in. So all the outside panels and aluminum panels, they're pretty much finished unless I decide to put a little extra something on them. I don't know, it's just start to bolt this car back up and start test driving it. So we're not too far away. And I don't know if you can see it now, but I finally got this car on dollies to where I could roll it around. And I'm excited about that because it's possible that I could roll it into a bay and actually not take up the whole garage anymore, and then just spin it out when I need to. But I could also roll it outside, do a bunch of fiberglass work, roll it back inside, and it's not in here. So that's one thing that I'm not too keen about. And, I had to do some the other day here because I had no choice. And it's just not something I like. I like to stay as clean as possible. Not in the sense of the garage being clean, but clean lung-wise, keep the environment clean so I'm not intoxicating myself. So I figured I'd answer some, big philosophy questions like, what's the same? And, the biggest thing that's the same is it's still me on my own doing all the work. That's the biggest one. Bob and Greg come over every once in a while, help me out. That's really cool. But at the end of the day, I'm responsible for it. I do all the work. And you notice even when Greg came over, he'd point out some stuff and then I would do the work as much as possible, which, I want to. I never expected him to come over and then let me just sit there and let him do all the work. That's not what the point was. The point was for him to come over, show his expertise, and us together do something and make it happen. So that's still the same. I still get frustrated. Nothing comes easy. But some of that frustration is just lack of knowledge. If I had more knowledge, I would know how to get over some of these hurdles. And as I've gone through the process, I do know how to get over some of these hurdles. So that's been a little bit the same. But, I don't get as frustrated as much. In fact, I don't know if it's in a video or not, but I put the pins to the doors for the door latch to go onto, and one's long, so the door doesn't shut at all. and one's too short, so the door doesn't shut at all. And I'm like, all right, there we go. Like, 7 months ago, I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? What the, and I'd be all like pissed off about it. And now I'm like, is what it is. I'm sure they make a shorter one. I'm sure they make a longer one. So I don't know what the deal is, but that's just how it is. And the other thing that's the same is the original chunk of change that I pulled out of the bank account to buy this car still is missing from my account. So that is still the same. So, another question might be, would I do it again? Is there something that I would do, different in a sense? And no, I've loved every minute of it. I have no regrets at all, like literally zero. This is something that I'm just so excited about. I've always wanted to build a car since I was like 13 years old. In fact, I think the story's in my channel early in the beginning during research, but originally I wanted to build like a Lamborghini kit car because Lamborghini was my favorite car. And it just wasn't feasible at the time. And here we are, so many years later, and I'm realizing my dream. And, with everything that's going on in the world right now, like, I'm glad I'm doing it now. I don't want to be 70 when I'm trying to pull this off. I'm just totally ecstatic at what I'm doing, and would I definitely do it again? Absolutely. In fact, I want to do it again. I would love to build the, I think it's the F9R, which is their new front engine supercar. I think that would be a badass car to build. What originally brought me to even this car was originally I was saying Lamborghini. That brought me to the GTM. GTM was like way too expensive. Okay. Cobra doesn't do much for me. That's just me. Cobras are great, but it's not my thing. Not to say I won't build one in the future. I looked at the 818. I was like, that's cool, but I already own that. I already own my Lexus GS300, so that's the same. What would be cool? Well, this is cool. This is badass. In fact, I decided I was not going to buy this car and spend all this money without ever experiencing it. And when I found Greg, who's built a few of these, he took me for a ride in his. And he's like, the first thing he said to me, we're driving around, he's like, this is freaking cool. Like, it's like, yeah, it's so true. It's a cool car. And what freaks me out every time is, this car for the whole year has been like 18 inches off the ground because it's been on jack stands and I've been working on it. And every time I hit it to the ground, put it on its tires, I freak out because I can't believe how low the car is. I'm used to, the hood coming up to here on me, and then, I put it on the ground and then it's way down here. So, it's going to be a little hard getting in and out of this car, but it's still damn cool. So I'm totally happy with it. In fact, I'm even excited for a second build because now with the knowledge, I can really go faster, know what I'm doing, know what my caveats are ahead of time. And that's one thing that, with me, I do so much research. Sometimes it pushes the old research out the head because it's just so much information. So I really do need to document a few philosophies, if you will, of this build for myself to know what I would do different, in the future or how I'd tackle something. I was so hell-bent against, I only want to build it once. I don't want to build it and tear it apart and build it and tear it apart and build it and tear it up and mock it up. And you just have to mock it up. And so I would say that, I probably sprayed color and clear coat on some of my parts a little early. I should have probably mocked up some stuff. And not that I've had any damage or anything like that, but I wouldn't have to walk around on tippy toes because there's all this stuff that I don't want to accidentally, mangle up because it's all finished already. And it's been finished almost since day one because that's when I painted some of the stuff was very early on. And so now I could kind of see you should really mock up the front end first instead of painting it and then trying to mock it up, and permanently installing it. It's just part of the game. It's you got to pay to play, and that's the thing that you pay with is building it 2 or 3 times. So is what it is. So that's something maybe that I would do different next time. So what's different now than, let's say, a year ago for me? Well, the one thing is I'm not broke anymore because I didn't just lay down $35,000 in one shot. So I have a little bit of cushion right now. Um, you know, the heat has just been over the top, and working outside, for whatever reason, it just seems like I have more time in the summers to do this than I do the winters. Um, but when I first got this car, being out in the heat so much, I did get a swamp cooler. I'm looking at the swamp cooler. I did get a swamp cooler, and that helped out immensely. It was great. And you got to remember, I just blew like 35 grand. I didn't have a dime to my name at this moment. All I had was the tools, the boxes of parts, and it's time to go. And so I ponied up, I don't know, $300-400 for this swamp cooler. And I ended up getting a kidney stone last year that just took me out. I don't know if you've ever had one. It's the worst thing ever. I've had organs removed, not as bad as a kidney stone. Kidney stone is horrible. So, in fact, this is what I tell people. I was praying to pass out from the pain so I didn't have to experience it. That's how bad it was. And that's while you're all drugged up on Percocet, morphine, and all that kind of stuff. So in any case, the heat, dehydration, stuff like that adds to that symptom. And I am 100% positive that being out in the heat working caused that issue. So fast forward a year, a month ago, and within 2 weeks of when I got one last year, I got one again this year. And I just went out and did some landscaping or whatever, and sure enough, 2-3 days later, boom, and the heat is just not my friend right now. So I finally decided to pony up for an air conditioner, and so now I have an air conditioner in my garage, and my garage doors don't work anymore. They're all cracked and bent. These are super cheap doors that came with the house, and so I'm actually replacing them with no windows in them, so that way I don't have glare while I'm filming. And they're going to be fully insulated, and so that will help out with the sun beating in on the doors. It will help for the air conditioning, and then I'm going to actually blow in some whatever it is. It's not fiberglass, but blown in insulation into the ceiling, some kind of green cellulose stuff or whatever. Of course, I'll have to wait till December before I do that because I can't be in the heat, and it's 140, 150 degrees up there. So I'll do that when I can. And so this is going to be nice. And I added more lights in here. So this is pretty much a nice film studio place to work on my car. So it's kind of a great environment right now. So another thing that's coming up is when I had the air conditioner put in, I had them run a 220 line to the other side of my garage so I could actually get a real air compressor. I've been dealing with a small 10-gallon tank air compressor with like 6 CFM, which for a small tank, that's actually a lot of CFM. You cannot find high CFM. Most of them are like 3 to 4 CFM, even if it's 30 gallons. Like, you can't get something that has a lot of CFM. So I'm going to get a 60-gallon tank, somewhere in the 13 CFM range. And I feel like I'm a little late to the game on this. I could have used that for the last 6 months to a year. And I'm hoping that by the time I get this, I'm kind of waiting for my doors to come in, which I think is next week. And then I'm, get that compressor in here. And I need to make sure that I can fit my car in here while the compressor's in here, things like that. I got to dial in a few things. But, I'm not planning on painting the car in my garage. In fact, I'm not even sure why people paint their cars in the garage. And I see people, they'll tape up the plastic everywhere, and you'll see like all the paint ripped off the roof, like from the 6 times that they've painted cars. I don't get all that, because you could rent a paint booth for like $100 a day that has the air compressor, has the fan, like it's the real deal. It has the lighting, it has everything. So why would you spend all this money and time and destroy your paint on the ceiling and deal with horrible ventilation systems? And it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just pay the $100 and yeah, you got to move your stuff down there, but it's worth it to have the proper lighting and the proper ventilation and the proper CFMs and yada yada yada. So I don't know. I just wouldn't do it at home. Little parts and stuff, absolutely. You see me do that, but not a whole car. Now, even though my compressor will actually do a whole car that I'm going to buy, that's not the point of it. Point of it, sanding, spraying, a lot of these little die grinders and stuff, they suck up a lot of air. So I'm going to try to get something decent size enough to take care of that. And, for me, this is a lifetime purchase. So I'm going to do it right once and take that compressor wherever I go in case I don't live here in the next 10 years. And it should be a good one. So I'm excited about that. So another thing I've been working on for the last year is finding a vehicle that will allow me to tow this car once I'm finished to shows, specifically the Factory 5 Huntington Beach show in California. Now, I recently rented a pickup truck towing vehicle with a trailer to bring another project in, which I'll talk about in a second. And, not only do they charge you your daily fee, but they charge you 69 cents a mile. Well, imagine me renting that to take this vehicle out to California, not only, 3-4 days and then, the trip back, mileage, you're talking, I don't know, thousands of dollars. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. So, I've been searching for a vehicle that would be a daily driver and a tow vehicle because I don't really want to buy a pickup truck that has all this tow rating and it just rots in my, driveway because I can't fit it in the garage. Now, again, these garages are a little bit smaller lengthwise, so I can't fit. I walk around my neighborhood all the time and I'm like, man, no one uses their garage and everybody has a pickup truck. And I'm like, well, now I get it, because when I went searching for a new vehicle, none of them fit in our garages. Oh, that makes sense, So, any SUVs or crossovers, if you will, even if they have a tow package, it's $3,000 or less. Well, that's great to tow an ATV or to tow some furniture, but that doesn't tow your car. The trailer alone could be 1,000 to 2,000 pounds, and then you're putting a 2,000 to 3,000 pound car on top of it. That's not going to happen. So it's been a struggle. I've been searching a long time, and then I could buy a Tahoe, I could buy a Suburban, I could buy an Escalade, I could buy all these different vehicles. None of them fit in this garage. Period. Don't fit it. And definitely aren't going to fit once I get an air compressor. So I ended up selling my GS300 back in February, right before everything hit in the world. And then out of nowhere, I thought it's just going to be easy to go find a vehicle, used vehicle. Well, with the economy and everything going crazy, not only was it hard to find something, but then used car prices went up like $2-3 grand per vehicle. It was just insane. And so, just now we're getting to the point where we've peaked over that curve and prices are kind of getting back to normal. And so I'm proud to say that I found a new vehicle that meets all my criteria. It's going to be my daily driver. It fits in the garage, and it has about a 7,000 pound towing capacity, which is good enough for me. I'm not trying to go crazy. It's a light car too. So yeah, I can't buy, get some big enclosed massive trailer to take this around in, but we're good. We're good. I could take it where I need to go. So that's great. So you'll be seeing that pretty soon because, of course, once I get a new vehicle, I go through all my, paint correction techniques and things like that to make sure that this thing is flawless and, poly-coated and all that kind of stuff. So that means that now that new vehicle is found, that means that the van is getting ready to be sold, and I'll be selling that off soon. And like I said, that thing is in mint condition. For what it is, 20 years old. There's a few door dings and there's a few scratches in the back of the vehicle from loading some plywood and stuff. But besides that, the interior is pretty mint. It's pretty shocking actually how well this car has held up. Some of my other nice cars the plastics in those cars have not held up at all and crack easy and stuff like that. That's not been the case with this vehicle. So very excited about that. And so the new project I actually bought a long time ago, November of 1999. And what's funny is the beginning of the video, I rented this, I want to say it's a Ford F-250, brand new 2020 Ford F-250 in 1999. So I do this little review of the truck and everything. Well, of course, I haven't published any of this stuff. So that review is pointless at this point because it's a year later and we're getting on to 2021s. But anyways, I bought a new project. It is a restoration project. It is a vintage vehicle. It's something that I've hidden out of sight of camera view as much as possible. And I'm still not going to reveal it because that's just who I am. But what I expected is if we didn't have the world collapsing as it is right now, and keep in mind, like, all my tech support went away. No one wanted to come over to help me. So I had some downtime myself where I thought I would be in the garage working on the car. I wasn't. I was like, I don't know what to do because I'm stuck, So I even slowed down during that time. But I was expecting to have this car finished, no paint, but finished, testing, driving, that kind of stuff, about a month or two ago. And then I was expecting to start my new project in between that and then do the final paint on this car before the end of the year. But it just hasn't worked out that way. And I don't really like intermixing different projects on the channel. I like kind of finishing through one, doing the next. I don't mind jumping in if there's one last stage or something, just because we're in a holding pattern. And I don't like doing reviews or paint correction or, popping some of those things in between. But yeah, so this vehicle's just been sitting in the driveway waiting, and I'm really excited about it. It was inspired by a movie for me, a bizarre movie. But it caught my eye in the movie, and I was like, what the hell is that? And then I found one. And so I'm really excited about it. And it's in great condition for what it is. And I'm going to fully strip it out, have it fully blasted, probably with like walnut shells or something like that. At least that's the plan. And then rebuild it up from scratch. And it should be pretty cool. So, but I'm going to keep you guessing for a while. So, so all in all, the project's coming around great. Greg coming over the other day is just like literally throwing this thing into high gear. I've gotten over a lot of trials and tribulations just from that one day of him being here. And now we're in the middle of working on the fenders and getting those. I need to cut those in and kind of curtail them to where they are. So stay tuned. I think it's just going to get better from here on out. It's going to start really looking like a car. And hopefully within a month or two, we'll have this thing actually firing away and on its own power. And I just really appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate the positive comments and the feedback. And I hope you have fun watching as much as I enjoy delivering this to you guys. And thank you again. And please subscribe. It helps me out. And have a great day.